Today is Thursday, the 9th of February, and this is from the South. Venezuela has demanded that the Mercosur Regional Trading Bloc recognizes its membership in the body. This after what the country calls an attempt by the right-wing governments of Argentina, Brazil and Paraguay to suspend it. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Delcy Rodriguez defended the country's role in the regional economic bloc, maintaining that the country has satisfied 95% of the norms. The doctor who first linked the Zika virus to birth defects says Brazil has forgotten too quickly the tragedy of 2,000 babies born with smaller than normal heads. According to Dr. Adriana Melo, Brazil runs the risk of a second wave of infections if the virus mutates. Zika is carried by mosquitoes and has spread to more than 60 countries and territories since the outbreak was identified in Brazil in 2015. Peruvian authorities are expected to decide whether or not to send former President Alejandro Toledo to jail over accusations that he received $20 million in bribes as part of the largest corruption scheme involving Brazil's construction giant Odebrecht. Bolivian President Evo Morales on Wednesday said he would allocate over $700,000 to combat a locust plague that has already damaged more than 1,000 hectares of crops in the southern Bolivian province of Santa Cruz, the country's main agricultural region. The foreign ministers of Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador and Guatemala will meet in Mexico next week to discuss immigration policy responses to Donald Trump's U.S. presidency. Trump has vowed to deport millions of undocumented U.S. immigrants and build a wall along the Mexican border. Central American ministers want to open lines of communication with Mexico's foreign minister to discuss problems with migration and the flow of Central Americans. On Wednesday, Cuba inaugurated the first Cuba Oil and Gas 2017 International Summit to attract investors to the local industry. The summit was to also express support by the government to foreign companies interested in the sector. During an information panel, officials from Cuban entities highlighted the current investment opportunities and discussed the country's oil and gas regulations. Ivanka Trump's brand was thrust again into the headlines after her father, President Donald Trump, attacked the department store chain Nordstrom Inc. using the White House Twitter platform to intervene in a commercial matter. The move prompted criticism against Trump by ethics officials who served past Republican and Democratic administrations and said Trump's tweet was both unprecedented and troublesome. British Prime Minister Theresa May won approval from Parliament's lower chamber on Wednesday to trigger Britain's exit from the European Union. This despite attempts by pro-EU lawmakers to attach additional conditions to her plan to start the divorce talks by March 31st. Lawmakers voted 494 to 122 in favor of legislation giving May the right to trigger Brexit, ending days of intense debate. Windows were smashed and fires were started in Paris on Wednesday night as activists took to the streets to call for justice. This after French police were charged with the rape and abuse of a young black man named Theo during an arrest in a Paris suburb. Theo was rushed to a hospital and required surgery due to the severity of his injuries. Thousands of Somalis celebrated in the country's capital the victory of anti-corruption campaigner Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo in the president's election. Mohamed, who is a dual U.S.-Somali citizen, faces an uphill task. The aid-dependent state faces an imminent food crisis, empty coffers, and an Islamist insurgency. A Kenyan court has ruled that it would be unconstitutional for the government to close a sprawling refugee camp housing mostly people who have fled unrest in neighboring Somalia. Nairobi has vowed to shut the camp because it says the complex has been used by Islamist militants from Somalia as a recruiting ground for a string of attacks on Kenyan soil. The government said it would appeal the ruling. With Carnival just a few weeks away, Brazil's samba schools are gearing up for the big event. This is no exception for the members of the Pariso do Tuiuti school, who are rushing to put the finishing touches on their floats. The school's theme this year is Tropicalism, which was an avant-garde movement that grew out of Brazilian culture in the late 60s. Carnival 2017 will coincide with the 50th anniversary of the movement. More on these and other stories on our website telesurtv.net/English.